The night air of King's Landing was cold, sharper than any winter beyond the wall. Lanterns flickered along the streets, casting wavering shadows that seemed to slither through the alleys. Even beneath the city's walls, in the quietest corners, whispers of unrest stirred like restless spirits. Daelora Fireborn stood on the battlements, cloak wrapped tightly around her shoulders, eyes sweeping the city below. Jon Snow remained by her side, silent, alert, ever aware that the presence of dragons above did not guarantee control. "The city sleeps uneasily," Jon said softly. "Even after last night, even after the counselor's lesson." Daelora's gaze did not waver. "King's Landing is restless, yes, but it is not chaos. It is anticipation. The shadows of ambition linger, and the foolish believe they can act unseen. We will teach them otherwise." A faint glow appeared at the edges of the horizon, unnatural and flickering, almost like moonlight caught in a web of mist. Daelora's hand rose, instinct sharpening her senses. Jon followed her gaze. "Magic," she said, voice low and measured, ancient, dark, and clever. "It waits for the moment when pride and fear blind the hearts of men." Jon's brow furrowed. "From where?" "From below," she said. "From the hidden places of the city, from the depths where whispers become shadows. Someone or something is gathering strength." The dragons shifted above, wings beating softly, sensing a shift in the air, a tremor beneath the stones. Their eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, scanning for what their riders could not yet see. "Prepare the guards," Daelora commanded. "Every alleyway, every secret passage. We cannot allow this darkness to grow unnoticed." Jon moved quickly, shadow swallowing his movements as he coordinated patrols, while Daelora summoned loyal council members to fortify the Red Keep itself. Every decision was deliberate, every precaution meticulous. They had secured the city from open rebellion, but the unseen forces, magic, ambition, treachery were far harder to control. Deep in the undercroft of the Red Keep, a hooded figure moved silently, chanting in a language older than Westeros itself. Flames flickered faintly around them, not from torches but from some arcane energy that seemed to pulse in time with their heartbeat. Their eyes glimmered, reflecting light that should not exist, as they prepared a ritual meant to unsettle the city and weaken the queen. Unaware of the threat below, Daelora and Jon returned to the battlements. Dragons circling high above, shadows dancing across the courtyard. "This is different from the north," Jon said quietly. "We cannot simply confront it with fire. Dragons cannot reach into the heart of shadows that hide beneath the streets." Daelora's eyes narrowed. "Then we must draw it into the light." All shadows vanish and daylight tore in the presence of truth. Hours passed, tension building as the city slept around them, unaware of the dark forces gathering. Finally, a tremor ran through the Red Keep, subtle at first, then undeniable. A low hum, vibrating through the stones, echoing off walls, penetrating the ears and bones. Jon's hand instinctively went to his sword hilt, but Daelora held up a hand. "I feel it," she murmured. "Ancient power. Not just ambition. Not just deceit. Something far older." The dragons roared softly, wings beating in unison, a warning that even the shadows could not ignore. Flames flickered along their scales, illuminating the night sky in waves of gold, black, and red. Suddenly, the hooded figure in the undercroft raised their arms, chanting faster, more insistently. The shadows around them writhed, taking shapes that seemed almost alive. The walls themselves trembled. Daelora and Jon descended quickly, moving through hidden passages, the dragons landing silently behind them. Every step was calculated, every heartbeat a warning. "You cannot hide in darkness forever," Daelora said, voice echoing in the corridor. "Show yourself." The figure turned, revealing eyes that shimmered like molten silver, a grin that spoke of secrets and power older than the city itself. "Queen of fire and frost," the figure intoned. "You may control men, dragons, and fear, but magic bends no knee." Jon stepped forward, sword drawn, but Daelora raised a hand, stopping him. "This is not a fight of steel. This is a test of resolve, and we are prepared." The figure laughed, a sound that sent chills down the spine. Shadows shifted, curling toward Daelora and Jon, seeking to ensnare, to weaken, to corrupt. But the queen stood firm, flames flickering faintly along her fingertips, a counterbalance to the darkness. "You underestimate what fire and frost can do together," she said. "You will learn quickly that magic without purpose is chaos, and chaos cannot survive in Westeros while we stand." The shadows hesitated, as if testing her, probing for weakness. The figure snarled, realizing the determination before them. The dragons stirred, wings beating, flames licking faintly, casting the shadows into disarray. And for the first time that night, the chamber beneath the Red Keep fell silent. Even the ancient magic paused, sensing that it had met its match. Daelora's gaze met Jon's, and the understanding was clear. This was the first true test of their reign, one that required courage, cunning, and unity. Dragons, fire, frost, and human will. These were the weapons that would defend the city, defend Westeros, and defend the new age they were about to forge. Above, the night sky glimmered faintly, the first hints of dawn waiting beyond the horizon, promising a day where fire and frost would confront shadows and emerge victorious or face consequences that neither dragons nor men could anticipate. Dawn broke over King's Landing, a pale light spilling across the city and its walls, though the shadows beneath the Red Keep refused to yield. The streets were quiet, the citizens unaware of the ancient power stirring beneath their feet, preparing to challenge the very rulers who had returned fire and frost to West. D'ialara Fireborn and Jon Snow moved through the corridors of the keep, dragons behind them, wings folded but throats flickering with heat. Every step was cautious, deliberate, every sound was analyzed. The faint tremor of arcane energy thrummed through the stone, growing stronger with every heartbeat. "We cannot fight this with swords alone," Jon said quietly, voice taut with concern. "It's something older than any magic I've known." Delora's eyes glimmered with calm fury. "Then we must fight it with everything we have. Dragons, fire, frost, and the will to stand unbroken." They descended into the Undercroft, the shadows crawling along the walls, twisting unnaturally, almost sentient in their movement. The hooded figure awaited them, the source of the disturbance, eyes glowing like molten silver in the dim light. "Queen of Fire and Frost," the figure intoned, voice reverberating through the stone corridors. "You have ruled men, commanded beasts, but you cannot command magic older than kings themselves. This city, this realm, is mine to test." D'ialara stepped forward, flames flickering along her fingertips. "Westeros is mine to protect. Magic, ambition, treachery, none of you will define this kingdom while we stand." The shadows surged suddenly, curling around the figure, spreading like ink through water, reaching for the dragons perched at the entrance. A low hum filled the chamber, vibrating through the walls, threatening to unseat even the bravest. Jon drew his sword, the steel catching the faint glow of the morning light. "Hold them off," he shouted to the dragons, "but don't harm the city." Above, fire and frost danced in perfect synchrony. "Dany," the gold shimmer roared, wings slicing the air as flames licked at the edges of the shadows, scattering them. Red Flame Ygritte swooped low, flames cutting through tendrils of dark magic, her roar shaking the stone walls as she struck with precision. Robb Max, the blackish-blue dragon, lunged at the figure directly, wings casting darkness across the chamber, forcing the magic to recoil. The hooded figure raised their hands, weaving spells faster, shadows twisting into sharper forms, claws of darkness that lunged for the dragons, for Jon, for D'ialara, but the queen's presence was unwavering. Flames danced from her fingertips, meeting shadow with fire, consuming what could be consumed, shaping what could be shaped. Jon leaped forward, blade flashing, intercepting tendrils of shadow that slipped past the dragons. His northern instincts, honed through years beyond the wall, guided him through the chaos. Each strike was measured, each movement precise, even as magic sought to ensnare him. Delora's voice rang out, commanding, resolute. "You cannot bend Westeros to your will. This city, this kingdom, bows only to fire and frost combined." The figure faltered, the first real hesitation showing in the molten glow of their eyes. The dragons surged, Dany slicing through shadows from above, Red Flame Ygritte striking from below, Robb Max pinning the figure in place with sheer size and presence. With a final command, D'ialara thrust her hand forward, channeling every ounce of her power into a pulse of light and fire that collided with the shadows, scattering them like leaves in a storm. The hooded figure screamed, voice echoing through the chambers, a sound of fury and desperation, before vanishing into a wisp of silver smoke that dissipated into the air. Silence fell, heavy and complete. The air hummed faintly with residual magic, but the threat had been quelled. The dragons roared, wings beating in victory, casting long shadows across the walls. Jon exhaled, lowering his sword. "Is it over?" Delora's eyes scanned the chamber, still sharp, still aware, for now. But magic of this kind never truly dies. It waits, it tests, and it will return, in another form, another shadow. "We must remain vigilant," Jon nodded. "Then we prepare. Every alleyway, every rooftop, every hidden corner. This city may bow outwardly, but darkness waits." Daelor placed a hand on his shoulder, a rare moment of warmth amid the tension. "And together, we will stand. Fire and frost, dragons and men. Westeros will remember this day, Jon, the day the Queen returned, and proved that no shadow, no matter how ancient, can withstand the light we bring." The dragons roared again, circling the battlements, wings slicing the dawn sky. King's Landing lay before them, quiet for now, but alive with secrets, whispers, and ambitions. The first battle of magic had been won, but the war for hearts, minds, and power had only begun. And in the shadows beyond, faint eyes watched, waiting, knowing that the queen had revealed her strength, and yet darker forces were already plotting, learning, and preparing to strike again. The morning sun glimmered off the Red Keep's towers, casting long golden beams over King's Landing. The city was alive, bustling with cautious energy, yet an unspoken tension lingered in the air. Citizens whispered rumors of the queen's dragons, of the shadows that had been scattered the night before, and of the power that now rested at the heart of the city. Delora Fireborn moved through the council chambers, her cloak flowing like liquid fire behind her. Every step was deliberate, every gaze measured. Jon Snow followed quietly, hand resting near the hilt of his sword, eyes scanning every shadow, every flicker of movement. "Our hold over the city is still fragile," Delora said, her voice calm but unwavering. "Magic has been tested, shadows have moved, and the nobles have learned that our power is real. But fear alone does not secure loyalty. We must consolidate control, subtly and decisively." Jon nodded. "And the dragons, they remain a deterrent," she replied. "Visible enough to impress, subtle enough to prevent unnecessary chaos. Their presence reminds all who would defy us that fire and frost are not to be trifled with." A messenger arrived, breathless and tense. "Your Grace, emissaries from distant kingdoms have arrived, requesting audience. They come with gifts and offers of allegiance, but also warnings. Rumors spread that some do not trust your intentions." Delora's eyes sparkled with determination. "Let them come. Westeros will not bend blindly to fear, but it will respect strength and foresight. We will meet them on our terms." Jon followed her to the outer courtyard where the emissaries awaited, each representing a kingdom or powerful house. Their faces were painted with cautious curiosity, each measuring the queen and her dragons. The largest of them, a tall man with piercing eyes, stepped forward. "Queen Delora," he said, bowing stiffly, "your return is remarkable, but power can be fleeting. Alliances are not guaranteed." Delora smiled faintly, regal and unyielding. "Power may be fleeting, but foresight is enduring. Those who offer loyalty wisely will find favor. Those who hesitate will learn that delay is costly." Jon observed quietly, noting the tension in their eyes, the careful words. The emissaries were calculating, assessing whether this new order would serve their ambitions or whether resistance might still offer opportunity. From the shadows of the courtyard, a figure emerged, a messenger cloaked in deep blue, carrying a sealed parchment. Delora's eyes narrowed as she intercepted the figure. Breaking the seal, she read the message quickly. A subtle smile curved her lips. "Jon," she said softly, handing him the parchment, "it appears we have an ally in an unexpected place. Someone with knowledge of the shadows and the cabal that moved beneath the city. They offer guidance. For a price." Jon glanced at her. "Can we trust them?" Delora considered, voice low and firm. "We will have to. This war is not only fought with steel and fire, but with knowledge. And sometimes, knowledge comes from the most unlikely of sources." Meanwhile, the streets of King's Landing hummed with activity. The citizens, emboldened by the queen's presence, went about their lives cautiously, aware of the dragons above, aware that the city now belonged to a new power. Merchants arranged goods carefully, soldiers patrolled strategically, and spies of the old regimes scurried unseen, reporting every movement. Back in the Red Keep, Delora and Jon convened with their closest advisors, plotting the next moves. Maps were spread across the table, notes made of vulnerable points, secret entrances, and areas where whispers of dissent had lingered. The alliance with this mysterious informant could tip the scales, but trust would need to be earned and tested. "Westeros is a chessboard," Delora said, tracing a finger along the map. "And every house, every ally, every shadow is a piece. We must anticipate their moves, control the center, and strike decisively when the time is right." Jon's hand rested on his sword hilt again. "And the dragons, can we keep them from causing panic?" "They are tools of strategy," she said. "Visible enough to inspire awe, distant enough to prevent unnecessary destruction. Our enemies will remember their presence, but the city will not burn while we govern." The day passed with meticulous planning. Spies were interrogated, patrols reorganized, and emissaries brought into the fold. Every move was calculated to strengthen Delora's position, ensure the loyalty of the nobles, and prepare for the inevitable challenges that awaited. As night fell, the dragons took to the sky once more, wings slicing through the dusk, casting massive shadows over the city. The citizens gazed upward, awe and fear mingling in equal measure. And in the quiet corridors of the Red Keep, Delora and Jon prepared for the next phase, confronting shadows, consolidating alliances, and ensuring that the Queen's return would be absolute, unshakable, and remembered for generations. The city of King's Landing lay quiet beneath the cover of night, though its streets and rooftops were alive with movement, unseen and calculating. Spies scurried in shadows, messengers whispered between windows, and the ever-watchful guards kept their positions along the walls. From above, the dragon's silhouettes cut through the darkened sky, wings wide and shadows long, a reminder to the city that fire and frost ruled now. Daliora Fireborn sat in her chambers, the letter from the mysterious ally unfolded before her. The parchment smelled faintly of smoke and ink, the handwriting precise, almost impossibly neat. The message was simple: intelligence, locations of hidden forces within the city, and plans of those plotting against Herat, a cost yet to be revealed. Jon Snow stood beside her, quiet and watchful. "Do you trust them?" he asked softly. Dalora's eyes were sharp, calculating. "Trust is a luxury in a city like this, Jon, but knowledge is power. And right now, we need every advantage we can get." Outside, Dany the Goldshimmer and Red Flame Ygritte circled high above the keep. While Robb Max patrolled the outer walls, their roars echoed through the city, reverberating off stone and wood alike, reminding every noble, every spy, every thief, that the Queen commanded forces unlike any Westeros had ever seen. The first test of the alliance came swiftly. Word arrived that a faction of the Shadow Cabal planned to meet in secret, hidden in the abandoned warehouses near the harbor. The emissary's intelligence was precise, down to the number of guards and the timing of the meeting. Daliora and Jon descended to the courtyard, where the dragons waited, tension in the air thick as smoke. "We cannot let this cabal regroup," Daliora said. "We strike swiftly, decisively, and without mercy." Jon nodded, placing a reassuring hand on the hilt of his sword. "And the city? We cannot risk panic." "Then we control the battlefield," Daliora replied, from above and below. "Our enemies will not have the chance to scatter. The dragons remind them who commands the skies, and we control the ground." Night deepened as they approached the harbor, the city silent around them. Shadows moved among shadows, figures attempting to gather secretly, unaware that their every move had been anticipated. The dragons swooped into position above Dany, slicing through the air with her golden scales blending into the starlight. Red Flame Ygritte striking in tandem, a flash of red against the darkness, while Robb Max circled, keeping escape routes blocked. The Cabal members began to realize too late that the shadows they trusted had betrayed them. Guards loyal to Daliora emerged from alleys, blocking exits, while Jon and Daliora approached from the street. Queen Daliora, one of the Cabal leaders, spat, trying to mask fear with bravado. "You cannot stop what is coming." Shadows have no master," Daliora smiled, cold and precise. "Shadows are illusions. Fire and frost are reality. And reality, as you will soon see, is not in your favor." With a signal, Dany unleashed a controlled roar, flames licking just beyond the heads of the Cabal, enough to disorient but not harm. Red Flame Ygritte followed, her wings whipping gusts of wind, toppling crates, and revealing hidden weapons the Cabal had brought. Jon moved forward, steel flashing, intercepting any who attempted to escape or resist. The battle was swift. The Cabal's plans crumbled before the combination of dragons, loyal soldiers, and Dalora's strategic brilliance. Those who survived were taken into custody, their conspiracies exposed, their allies revealed. Messages were intercepted, alliances broken, and the mysterious allies' intelligence proved invaluable. As the last of the captured were brought under guard, Daliora stood amid the harbor, eyes sweeping the city beyond. "This is how it begins," she said softly to Jon. "We root out the shadows, but we do so with precision, we do so with strategy. Westeros will remember that fire and frost move together, and that no force, no matter how cunning, can escape our reach." Jon exhaled, watching the dragons settle back onto the rooftops, their presence a silent reassurance. "This city, it's alive with ambition and treachery, but we've shown them who rules." Daliora nodded. "Tonight is victory. Tomorrow, the game continues. Allies must be managed, whispers silenced, and power consolidated. But each step we take is a step toward a Westeros united by fire, by frost, and by the strength of those who refuse to bow to shadows." The harbor lay quiet once more, but the city above was restless, aware that a new era had begun. A queen returned, dragons at her command, and a Northborn king by her side. The first major confrontation had been won, but the streets of King's Landing held many more secrets, many more plots, and many more challenges yet to come. Above, the dragons roared in unison, a promise to the city. The queen's reign was no illusion, and the game of fire and frost had only just begun. The morning sun bathed the Red Keep in gold, but within its walls, the game of politics was far from calm. Daliora Fireborn moved through the corridors with the precision of a queen who knew every shadow, every whisper, every opportunity. Jon Snow followed, silent as ever, his presence a reminder of frost alongside her fire. The dragons roosted nearby, vigilant, their eyes scanning the city for even the slightest hint of unrest. The reports flooded in as Daliora convened her council. Some nobles professed loyalty, others masked hesitation behind polite words. And a few those whose ambition exceeded prudence moved subtly to test the queen's patience and discernment. We will meet them on equal terms, Daelor declared. Offer alliances, yes, but with conditions. Let them know loyalty has rewards, but betrayal has consequences that even dragons will not forgive. Jon studied the faces of the assembled council members. Some eyes flickered nervously toward him and the dragons, betraying fear beneath their civility. Others met his gaze with deliberate calculation. They are testing us, he said. Each smile hides intent. Each bow is measured. Dalara's eyes glimmered with quiet amusement. Then we must give them cause to measure carefully. Fear alone is not enough. We will combine it with respect, with proof that we see everything and anticipate every move. That evening, emissaries from key houses arrived in the throne room, bearing gifts, messages, and oaths of allegiance. Some were sincere, others calculated. Each was observed carefully, each gesture analyzed. The mysterious ally, whose intelligence had already prevented disaster, offered further guidance through secret missives, warning of subtle betrayals yet to emerge. A young noble from the Riverlands stepped forward, kneeling before the queen. Your Grace, the North and the Riverlands, honor your return. May your rule bring stability and justice. Daelora inclined her head, voice steady and commanding. The stability and justice are earned through loyalty, wisdom, and action. Any who falter will find their place in history, as a warning to others. Jon's attention shifted to the corner of the chamber, where a small group of emissaries exchanged hurried, hushed words. Something about their demeanor suggested subterfuge. He caught Dalara's eye, and she nodded subtly, understanding without words. The dragons shifted in their roosts, tails lashing and wings twitching, sensing tension. Dani the Gold Shimmer exhaled a faint plume of fire, illuminating the chamber in flickering gold light, while Red Flame Ygritte and Rotmax stirred as if aware of the hidden danger. Daelora spoke again, commanding and precise. Let all who are gathered here understand. Westeros has changed. Fire and frost move together now. Betrayal will not escape scrutiny. Every whisper and shadow will be met with illumination. A murmur ran through the room, some nobles bowing lower, others tightening their grips on concealed weapons or scrolls. The message was clear. The queen's return was not ceremonial. It was dominion, measured, deliberate, and inescapable. Later, in a private chamber, Daelora and Jon reviewed intelligence gathered from the mysterious ally. They are everywhere, Jon said quietly. Plots, spies, whispers, even among those who claim loyalty. Daelora nodded. Westeros has always been a web of ambition. We cannot cut every thread at once. We strengthen our position, anticipate their moves, and allow them to reveal themselves. Patience and foresight are weapons as deadly as dragons. Jon's gaze drifted to the map of King's Landing, tracing potential escape routes and hidden alleys. And the dragons. Keeping them under control in the city will be tricky. One misstep, even unintentionally, could cause chaos among the people. Then no restraint, Daelora said softly, watching Dani and Red Flame Ygritte through the window. They are instruments of strategy, not destruction. For now, but the city must remember, above all else, that we have power they cannot resist. As night fell, Daelora and Jon convened with their closest advisors once more, plotting contingencies, anticipating betrayals, and planning the careful consolidation of power. The mysterious allies' guidance had proven invaluable, yet the price of that intelligence was not yet clear. Trust in Westeros was always measured, always tentative, and always fraught with danger. Outside, the dragons roared into the night, wings cutting the sky like living shadows of fire and frost. King's Landing lay beneath them, a city alive with secrets, ambitions, and opportunities. The queen had returned, alliances were being forged, and the subtle game of power had begun in earnest. And in the quiet corners of the city, in hidden chambers and secret passageways, whispers continued, some of loyalty, some of rebellion, some of magic hand. All eyes, knowingly or not, were on Daelora Fireborn, the queen who had returned to claim her throne. King's Landing stirred uneasily beneath the rising sun. The streets, normally alive with merchants and citizens, now carried a tension that could be felt in every whispered word and every nervous glance. The city knew its queen had returned, and with her, fire and frost moved as one. Yet even as loyalty strengthened, discontent festered, and subtle acts of rebellion began to surface. Daelora Fireborn convened her council early that morning. Jon Snow stood silently beside her, eyes scanning the chamber for signs of hesitation, deceit, or treachery. The reports were troubling. Several minor houses in the city had begun to rally their retainers in secret, sowing discord and testing the queen's authority. Subtle defiance grows, Daelora said, voice sharp and commanding. They are testing limits, seeing how far they may push before consequences follow. We will not allow this to continue. We strike with precision, not brutality. Jon frowned. And if they resist openly, then they will face consequences. Daelora replied, calm and deliberate. Will we give them a chance to bend, to align with the new order? The first failure of loyalty will be instructive, not fatal. We are rulers, not executioners, though execution remains an option if provoked. The first signs came swiftly. Small skirmishes erupted in the outer districts. Guards loyal to Daelora intercepted groups of armed men, attempting to rally citizens, while spies uncovered secret messages and hidden caches of weapons. Each act of defiance was subtle, calculated, and designed to provoke fear. Above, the dragons watched silently from the rooftops. Dani the Gold Shimmer stretched her wings, flames licking faintly at the edges of her scales, while Red Flame, Ygritte, and Robb Max circled, shadows moving in tandem with their movements. Jon and Daelora used their presence strategically, not for destruction, but as a reminder that the Queen's reach extended even into the narrowest alleys and the darkest corners. Daelora moved quickly, convening her most trusted advisors in a hidden chamber beneath the keep. Plans were made to counter the rebellion, to isolate its leaders, and to reveal their intentions publicly. Visibility is key, she said. We expose their treachery before it spreads. The people must see the consequences of defiance. Jon listened, watching maps and routes carefully marked for a strategic deployment of troops and dragons. We risk panic, he warned. Even minor skirmishes in the city could spiral if the dragons are seen as weapons of terror rather than tools of deterrence. Daelora's eyes met his own. Then we control perception as carefully as we control force. Let them see strength, but understand justice. Fear must be tempered with order, and power must be tempered with wisdom. The first confrontation was swift and decisive. Loyalist guards, supported by a subtle display from Dani and Red Flame Ygritte above, intercepted the ringleaders as they attempted to rally supporters in a public square. Flames swept nearby streets, not to harm, but to corral and intimidate. Jon and Daelora moved with precision, capturing key figures while revealing their plans to the citizens. The streets are ours, Daelora said afterward, surveying the square from a balcony. The rebellion is contained and the message is clear. Loyalty is rewarded, defiance is exposed. Westeros will remember the day the Queen returned and the city obeyed without bloodshed. Yet even in victory, Daelora was not naive. She knew the shadows ran deep. Some houses would submit outwardly but plot inwardly. Others would feign loyalty while awaiting opportunity. The mysterious Eily's intelligence had been critical, but trust remained cautious. Jon exhaled, watching the captured leaders led away under guard. This is only the beginning, he said. There will always be another group, another plot. Daelora nodded, eyes sharp as steel, and we will be ready. Fire and frost will stand together. Every shadow will be revealed. Every whisper of rebellion will be met with vigilance. Westeros will bend to the Queen, not through fear alone, but through the demonstration of strength, wisdom, and foresight. The dragons roared, echoing through the streets of King's Landing, a reminder of power, restrained, but omnipresent. Citizens paused in awe, some bowing instinctively, others frozen with a mixture of fear and respect. As night fell, Daelora and Jon returned to the Red Keep, knowing that the city's peace was tenuous. The rebellion had been quelled, but subtle acts of dissent and ambition would continue to surface. And beyond the walls, the mysterious ally Estru motives remained unclear, a puzzle piece, whose alignment could tip the balance of power at any moment. Above the city, the dragons settled, wings folded but eyes glowing with quiet awareness. King's Landing slept uneasily, aware that its rulers were vigilant, and that the game of fire, frost, and shadows had only just begun. The night in King's Landing was heavy with anticipation, as if the city itself held its breath. Daelora Fireborn paced in the chambers of the Red Keep, her cloak brushing the stone floors, her mind sharp and unyielding. Jon Snow leaned against the window, eyes fixed on the shadows beyond the walls, where unseen forces stirred with purpose and patience. The mysterious ally had requested a private audience. Their identity finally revealed. A woman cloaked in midnight blue, her face partially hidden by a hood. Her voice was calm, precise, and carried the weight of knowledge older than most of Westeros could comprehend. Queen Daelora, she said, bowing slightly. The shadows you have scattered are only the beginning. Forces you have yet to perceive are moving, and some are not mortal. Daelora's eyes narrowed. Then speak plainly. Who are you, and what do you want? The woman removed her hood, revealing silver hair and eyes that glimmered like moonlight on water. I am Solara, she said, and I have watched Westeros for centuries, in ways few can imagine. I serve no crown, no king or queen, but I serve balance. I have aided you because the game of shadows has become dangerous, even for dragons and mortals alike. Jon's hand hovered near his sword, balanced or manipulation. Solara's gaze met his, unwavering. Call it what you will. I offer knowledge. In return, I ask vigilance, wisdom, and subtle obedience to counsel. Magic unseen is moving beyond the city, beyond the wall, and it threatens to consume all if left unchecked. Daelora stepped forward, her presence commanding, unshaken. Then we will listen. Solara, speak, and tell us what must be done. Solara outlined her warning. Ancient magic, older than the Targaryens or Starks, was stirring in the lands beyond the reach, drawn by whispers of ambition, betrayal, and death. This magic was volatile, sentient, and growing stronger with each act of war or treachery in West. It sought chaos, feeding on fear and unrest, and would not stop until it had reshaped the realm according to its own inscrutable will. John's brow furrowed. Magic that grows stronger from human ambition. Exactly, Solara said. Every plot, every hidden betrayal, every act of violence strengthens it. It learns, adapts, and manipulates. You have seen the early signs in King's Landing, the shadows, the cabal, but the true threat is far greater. Dolores' mind raced. Then we must act swiftly. Strengthen our alliances, consolidate power, and control knowledge of dragons. We must face this threat before it spreads beyond reach. Solara inclined her head. And you must choose carefully, for the use of dragons will attract its attention. Every display of fire, every strategic move, will be observed and studied. Your dragons are not only a weapon, they are a beacon, John exhaled, glancing toward the dragons perched on the rooftops. Then we must control them even more carefully, and control the city's perception as well. One mistake, Daelora nodded, her resolve unwavering. One mistake could be fatal, but we will not fail. Fire and frost together have toppled kings and scattered shadows before. This will be no different. The night passed with careful planning. Daelora and John reviewed intelligence, fortified alliances, and devised contingencies for any uprising or magical interference. Solara remained close, guiding them subtly, providing insight into threats unseen, and advising on moves that would minimize risk while maximizing control. As dawn approached, a new plan took shape. The dragons would continue to patrol the skies, but their visibility would be calculated, displayed only where it served the Queen's strategy. The city would be watched, every noble scrutinized, and every whisper recorded. The rebellion of minor houses had been a test. Now, the Queen's power and foresight would be demonstrated in full. And in the distance, beyond the city walls, John could sense the stirrings of the magic Solara had warned of. It was not yet fully formed, but it was alive, aware, and moving with intent. The coming confrontation would not be a simple battle of men or dragons. It would be a battle of power, of strategy, and of forces that few could even comprehend. Daelora placed a hand on John's shoulder, her expression fierce yet calm. We are ready, John. Fire and frost, dragons and men, strategy and foresight. Whatever comes, we face it together. Westeros will not fall to shadows while we stand. John nodded, looking to the horizon where the first light of day met the rooftops of King's Landing, where dragons soared and the city waited, uncertain, for the storm to come. Above, Donnie the Gold Shimmer, Red Flame Ygritte, and Robb Max roared in unison, their wings slicing through the dawn sky, a warning to the world. The Queen has returned, the Northborn King stands by her side, and Westeros will witness a battle unlike any before where fire, frost and magic collide in ways that could reshape the realm forever. The skies above King's Landing were alive with fire and shadow, the first light of dawn struggling through clouds heavy with tension. The city held its breath, aware of the power converging within and above its walls. Daelora Fireborn stood atop the Red Keep, cloak whipping in the wind, her eyes sharp and unwavering. Jon Snow was at her side, silent and steady, hand resting near his sword, the dragons coiled behind them like living sentinels. Solara appeared beside them, her silver hair gleaming in the light, eyes alight with both warning and calculation. The magic stirs, she said softly. It has sensed your power, your dragons, your unity. It moves toward the city, intent on reshaping all that you hold dear. Dolores' lips pressed into a firm line. Then we meet at Hedon. Fire and frost, dragons and men, this is the hour to prove that Westeros bends only to those who wield power with resolve and wisdom. The first signs of the magical force appeared in the east, where the Red Keep's walls met the outer city. Shadows slithered unnaturally along the rooftops and streets, curling into forms that seemed alive. Eyes glowing with malice, claws of darkness reaching for life and warmth. Citizens fled in terror, though loyal soldiers maintained order, herding them to safety with Jon and Dolores' authority guiding every movement. From above, Donnie the Gold Shimmer roared, wings slicing through the air, flames licking at the edges of the encroaching shadows. Red Flame Ygritte darted in tandem, her speed and precision cutting through the darkness, while Robb Max circled, ready to strike, wings creating gusts that scattered the shadowy forms. The battle began in earnest. Shadows surged up the streets, curling toward the gates, seeping through alleys, and attempting to overwhelm the city's defenders. Jon and Daelora moved strategically, coordinating troops, dragons, and their own attacks. Steel met shadow, fire met darkness, and frost manifest in Jon's resolve and his northern instincts held the lines. Solara moved among them, guiding spells and countermeasures, shaping the flow of magic, turning the enemy's own energy against itself. Aim for the nodes of power, she instructed, pointing to the corners of the city where the magic concentrated. Destroy them, Disrupt the flow. Don't allow it to stabilize. Daelora nodded, flames dancing along her fingertips, weaving patterns in the air that collided with the shadows, consuming them. Jon's sword flashed, steel meeting dark tendrils, cutting paths for the dragons to sweep through. Dani and Red Flame Ygritte worked in flawless synchrony, striking from opposite angles, turning the shadows back toward one another, confusing and fragmenting the magical force. Yet the enemy adapted. Shadows began to coalesce into larger, more formidable, monstrous shapes that roared and lunged with intelligence and cunning. The ground trembled as darkness clawed at stone, reaching for walls, towers, and the keep itself. Daelora raised her voice, commanding the city and the battlefield in unison. "Oh, do not falter." Fire and frost moved together. Jon's voice followed, steady and resonant. "Now, strike the nodes." The dragons unleashed controlled torrents of fire, targeting the core concentrations of magic. The shadows shrieked, twisting in pain, but remained, feeding on fear, on hesitation. Solara intervened, weaving strands of her own power into Daelora's flames, amplifying the effect. Light met shadow in blinding bursts, shaking rooftops and igniting the skies with fire and brilliance. The decisive moment came when Daelora summoned the full extent of her power, combining fire, frost, and dragon force in a single, focused surge. The energy spiraled upward, coalescing into a blazing vortex of light that pierced the heart of the shadows. The magical entity screeched, recoiling, fracturing, and disintegrating under the combined might of queen, dragons, and sorceress guidance. Jon landed amidst the chaos, sword flashing, cutting the last tendrils of darkness that threatened the city. Dani the Gold Shimmer circled him protectively, Red Flame Ygritte darting between rooftops, and Robmax held the outer perimeter, wings creating shields of wind against lingering shadows. When the final tendrils dissolved into nothingness, silence fell over King's Landing. Smoke and ash drifted in the morning light, but the city stood. The citizens emerged cautiously, awe and fear mixing as they looked upon the queen and her dragons. Realizing that Westeros had witnessed the rebirth of power, the victory of fire and frost together, Daelora stepped forward, eyes scanning the horizon. "Let this day be remembered," she declared, "for we have faced shadows older than any king or queen, and we have endured. Westeros belongs not to fear, not to treachery, but to those who wield strength with wisdom and unity." Jon's gaze followed hers, resting on the dragons perched above, their wings folded but eyes glowing with quiet awareness. "This city is ours for now," he said, "but the game continues. Shadows never truly vanish." Daelora smiled faintly, a mixture of triumph and determination. "Then we remain vigilant. Fire and frost, dragons and men, courage and wisdom. This is our legacy. Let all who would challenge Westeros remember it." Solara, watching silently from the shadows, inclined her head. "The balance is restored, for now. But Westeros will always have its shadows. You have won the day, but the game endures." The dragons roared one final time, wings slicing the dawn sky, casting massive shadows across the city. King's Landing looked to the Red Keep and its queen, knowing that a new era had begun, one of fire, frost, strategy, and vigilance. The queen had returned. Jon Snow stood at her side, and Westeros would never be the same again. Above the city, the sun broke fully over the horizon, illuminating the aftermath. The dragons, and the rulers who had faced darkness and emerged victorious. Fire and frost, together, had triumphed, and the realm now awaited the future shaped by their reign.